Hello and welcome back to the Double A NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And today we're going to be doing our quarter season awards. We got a little bit of news, not a ton of news, just one kind of big thing. And of course, we got to start off with our power rankings. So,
Yes.
first off, you want to go
muted
first?
yourself?
Oh, okay. Rip. Hold on. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to switch the app and I don't know. It got messed up. So you want me to first? You want me to go first? You want to go first?
I think you went first last time, so I'll take it.
All right.
At first. Number 5, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. They're the current 3 seed in the East at 11-7. They went 2-1 this last week. They beat the Hawks and Raptors, and they lost to the Pelicans. An all right week. Pretty good considering how some of the other teams performed. A little spoiler alert here. I don't have the Lakers in my top 5 right now.
For real?
They went 2-2, and their wins were against the Bulls and the Cavs, so I really wasn't impressed. And they lost to the Pistons. That really did it for me.
They got their asses kicked by the Pistons.
Yeah. So spoiler alert,
have them in my top 5.
They didn't make mine, but yeah. You're up.
All right. My number 5 is the New Jersey Nets, baby. The Nets are playing. They're finally gelling. They're playing like they should have been playing the second that James Harden got there. But they went. Let's see. They went 4-0 this week. They beat the Heat twice. 2 pretty close games, and then they beat the Hawks in a very close game, and they beat the shit out of the Thunder, who have been not bad. So they have some quality wins, but on the season they're 13-8. So, but they are up to the 2 seed in the East. I saw a stat this week that they're 7-1 against top 10 teams, which means that they're 5-7 against bad teams. So I don't really know. I don't really know how great they are yet, but they're pretty damn good. So I got them at 5.
Nice. My number 4 is the Los Angeles Clippers. They went 3-1 this week. They beat the Thunder, Heat, and Magic, and they lost to the Hawks. So the reason I have them that year is because, one, their wins are okay, but nothing special considering how bad the Heat have been. The Magic are always okay at best. And then the Thunder, who are supposed to be tanking but are actually kind of surprising. Actually, the Thunder would be the 11th. Wait, no, they beat the same in the East, but they've been better than we expected. Can say that.
What are they right now? 12?
11 in the West.
11.
But I was saying if they went to the East, I thought they'd be higher on the standings.
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't be. Anyway, they lost to the Hawks, which normally wouldn't be super amazing, but Trae Young is back in form. So
Trae Young is balling.
Yeah, but Paul George has been playing well. Kawhi's been playing well. Just everyone's been pretty solid all around. So I just had to show him some love.
Hell yeah. All right, my number 4 is the Philadelphia 76ers. They're the best team in the East right now. They're 14-6. They have, I believe, they would be 3rd in the Western Conference. So they are, So they're tied with the Lakers right now. They beat the Lakers this week. They beat the Timberwolves this week. They lost to the Pistons. So that was not a great loss. But they were 3-1 this week, so they were pretty good. And overall on the season, they're also pretty good. But the Pistons loss really takes them down a couple.
The Pistons
notches.
Had a pretty good week, honestly. They beat the
They
Lakers
did, yeah.
and
They
the
beat
Sixers.
the best team in the West and the best team in the East. Not bad. So yeah, the Sixers are solid. They got a test tomorrow night. They play the Pacers. Hoping that'll be a good game. Usually when the Pacers and Sixers play, it is a pretty good game. Because the Pacers hate the Sixers. But I mean, now that Dan Burke is with Philadelphia, I don't know if the Pacers will have their edge anymore because he was the one that really hated Philadelphia, and now he's there. So, yeah. So that's honestly that's why I got Philly there. Really, if you lose to the Pistons with how bad they've been, you're gonna get knocked down a couple notches. You cannot be one if you lost to the Pistons in the last week.
Yeah. My number 3 is actually the 76ers. You pretty much covered everything. They went 1-1 against the Pistons, then they beat the Lakers and Timberwolves. That Lakers game was actually kind of insane. I was watching that one. It was a very good game.
Right down to the wire, clutch Toby.
Yeah. That's a very strange sentence you just said. Clutch Toby.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, baby.
But no, Embiid's been playing really well. Simmons has... I don't even know, like, he's not worse. He's just playing his role, I guess. But his stats have decreased, obviously, which is, give or take. But Embiid's been playing really well. Tobias Harris has stepped up. They've been playing a lot better this past, few weeks. And Doc Rivers is coaching well. But, again, you pretty much nailed it on the head. They lost to the Pistons, so I can't have them at number 1.
Yeah. My number 3 is the LA Lakers. The Lakers, I mean, it's beating a dead horse at this point. The Lakers are great, but they had a shitty week, which knocks them down a couple notches. They lost to the Pistons. They kind of barely beat the Bulls, and then they lost in a thriller to the Sixers. Which, honestly, if that was the finals, I wouldn't hate it. I would like that a lot. They beat Cleveland. They went into Cleveland and beat Cleveland. But that's also, a little too close for comfort. So, I can't really put them much higher than 3. AD came out this week and was like, yeah, I've been playing like shit. I need to get it together.
And then he didn't play.
And then he didn't play. Yeah. So, this is the wrong time to peak anyway for the Lakers. They're a championship team. They got championship aspirations, so no biggie that they're not great right now, but I got them
3. Yeah, like I said, I left them off. I think they were 3 for me last week, and then they didn't have a good week, so I had to boot them down. My number 2 is the Brooklyn Nets. I know you had them significantly lower, but they were one of 2 teams that went undefeated this week, so had to show them some love there. Not everyone. The only players we expect to be really good on the Nets are playing well. Their lack of center is still glaringly obvious, but
Joe Harris had a pretty nice week.
Yeah, Joe Harris played pretty well too. But they have some stuff they got to work on, namely getting a good center, which we'll kind of talk about later. But yeah, I just had to. They were one of the 2 teams that went 4-0, so I had to keep them pretty high.
They gave up 120 or more points in 3 out of 4 games this week. And then in the other game, they held the Heat to 85.
Yeah. And keep in mind, the other 2 teams they played were the Hawks and the Thunder, teams they shouldn't be letting put up 120 points.
Yeah. But Trey was kind of out of his mind in the Hawks game, so I can kind of excuse it if he's going off. He had 28.
Yeah.
And dished out 14 assists. That's ridiculous.
Didn't they let, what's his name, Theo... Maladon, or however you say it, on the Thunder, didn't he pop off against them?
Bro, I honestly, I know 3 Thunder players.
I'm going to look this up, because I'm pretty sure it was him.
Lou Dort, Shea, George Hill, Al Horford. The Thunder... Yeah, Theo Maladon had 24 against them. That's not great.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Hamidou Diallo had 18.
Al Horford had 16 and 6. Yeah,
Alexei
the Nets got to work on that
Pukashevsky
defense.
had 2 points in 16 minutes.
Stud.
Really went off. Stud.
All right, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers have been playing excellent basketball this year. They're a pretty fun team to watch, honestly. Even if you hate Paul George, which I do, they're still pretty cool to watch because Kawhi's there and they got some guys. Batum is kind of nice. Batum had 18 the other night against the Heat. Heat suck.
Yeah, the Heat are
but
not
yeah,
good.
they got a good team. Luke Kennard, they're running a pretty wide rotation, honestly. They had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 guys getting 15 or more minutes. It's kind of rare now. But Yeah, so the Clippers had a good week. They're 15-5. They're a game better than the Lakers overall, and a game better than the Sixers overall. So I put them number 2.
All right, and at number 1, I think we have the same team. It's the Utah Jazz.
Yeah,
They
Utah Jazz
are insane. So they beat the Warriors, they beat the Knicks, which normally wouldn't be a good win, but this year it kind of is. And then they beat the Mavs twice, who admittedly have not been very good, but that's besides the point. They're on an 11-game win streak right now. Everyone is playing out of their minds, including Mike Conley.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give away anything on like my awards, so I'm not going to say too much about them. But oh, we got disconnected. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. The headphones that I'm using, I like pressed it into my ear and it just hung up the call. So
Nice.
I don't
what
know
I was saying was I don't want to give up too much on like what I have for some of my awards, but the Jazz are playing very well.
Yeah, the Jazz have been incredible. I saw a stat the other day that they're winning games by an average of like 15 points or something over this win streak, which is insane. That win streaks like this aren't crazy uncommon, but win streaks with this level of dominance are. You just don't see shit like that very often. They're just beating the shit out of teams, and it's fun to watch if you like Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz. They've been fucking awesome.
I saw this post. I don't remember where I saw it, but it was like, remember after the bubble, a bunch of people were saying
it was
like,
Chop Shop.
It was Chop Shop, yeah, and it was like everyone was
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, the Jazz are over. They need to trade Rudy. They're imploding," and now they're doing this.
Yeah, shout out NBA Chop Shop. Remember when Woj said the Utah Jazz situation was unsalvageable? Yeah.
And I gotta say,
it's clearly
it's
wasn't.
salvaged.
Yeah,
I think it is safe to
salvaged.
say this is like, whenever I think of that, I think of Quinn Snyder. That one. Do you remember that one game where they were down by like 20 points and Quinn Snyder called a timeout and they all just sat there and he stared at them and then they went out and won the game? I'm imagining like that's what happened in the offseason. They were all fighting and he just sat them down and stared at them and how they're playing like
Guys,
this.
listen. Stop.
He didn't even say anything. He just looked at them. They knew.
Yeah.
And he was going on. That's probably what happened this offseason, dude.
Yep.
But
All right.
I'm assuming you have the Jazz at 1 too.
Yeah, we covered it.
All
I
right.
got the Jazz at 1. They've been incredible, super dominant, really
Yes.
good.
You want to do news stuff or the awards next?
Yeah, let's do some news stuff.
All right. First up, we're going to do a little bit of trade corner talk.
Yes.
For starters, most importantly, the Nets want JaVale McGee. They traded Jared Allen, so I don't know what they expected, but
Yeah, they traded Jared Allen for like jack shit. I don't even
a
think
second round
they needed
pick,
to do
I think.
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff. We can kind of combine this. We can do this like as the trade quarter and the buyout corner because so there's some buyout news as well. There are rumors circulating that the Cavaliers are thinking about buying out both Andre Drummond and Kevin Love, which I genuinely don't know what the incentive is for
I don't
that.
know is it both or just like one or the other?
Well, I've seen rumors for both, but I would guess that if they did it, it would be one or the other.
Okay.
Which
is strange because you could definitely get something for both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe that just, maybe that reduces the cap hit if they buy him out. I don't know.
There is no cap hit. They just, worst case scenario, just keep Andre Drummond till the end of the season and let him walk if you're going to buy him out. Then you don't have to deal with the salary.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of securing a buyout with a guy who's going to be a free agent in 6 months is, but it's also Cleveland, so
yeah,
I don't know.
Kevin Love's a different story because I think he's still got like 2 years left.
Yeah, that would be something where if they secure a buyout with him, they would probably stretch his contract over like a while. Like it would probably be like they might be giving Kevin Love checks in like 2026 or something.
But he's another one of those guys where you could just trade him. Teams want him. Like,
Yeah, but I don't know. Like the problem with Kevin Love is, like, okay, he hits the buyout market. What is he getting? Like, is he getting more than like $15 million? Maybe, especially from a team like the Nets. The Nets seem to like actually want him,
yeah.
but they're in cap hell right
I mean,
now.
yeah, he's not.
I
gonna
think he would
get,
probably
like,
take a
20
pay cut.
million, but like, what I'm saying is a team that is trying to contend, like one of the top teams, obviously not the Nets, but like a team like the Spurs are the 4 seed. Maybe they want Kevin Love, you know? And it's like,
Yeah, that's true.
they have the money to trade for him. And if you're the Cavs, like, if you waive him or not waive him, if you send him to the buyout market, you have to eat that contract for
You know what it
again,
is,
5
actually?
or 6 years. What is it?
I would guess that they have gauged trade interest for Kevin Love, and because of the cap hit and the injury risk that he brings, I would assume that they are not willing to trade, or the teams aren't willing to trade him without some sort of like draft compensation as well, and the Cavs just don't want to give up a pick.
Maybe, but like I don't even like you're not gonna get like, you know, a really good player and 2 or 3 first round picks for Kevin Love, but you can at least get like maybe a first.
You could get a first and like Derek White or something,
Yeah,
as
like,
if the Cavs need more guards.
but something's better than nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
no, you're right. I don't really get what the point of. You're right. I don't really get what the point of buying him out now is. Andre Drummond is the one that's more puzzling. That's the one that I saw first, and I think the news that came out first that they're looking towards securing a buyout. Maybe he just wants a buyout, and they're trying to help him out with it because they don't really like obviously they need him, but this is a lost season anyway because it's fucking Cleveland, and every season is a lost season if they don't have LeBron. So
I mean, they're the 7th seed. It's not like a
Yeah, I
great
know.
season, but like I wouldn't say it's lost.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. They've been playing. I think they have been overperforming for what their team is.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
they
true.
know that this isn't sustainable. Like, I don't know. But like,
That's fair.
they're not going to be like they don't have to re-sign. That's the thing though that you brought up. Like, they don't have to re-sign Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
They are not going to be in cap hell if they keep him. Like, they
And
don't
again-
need to stretch this contract at all.
Yeah, and a team, I don't know if any teams are willing to trade for him because he's making a lot of money and he's on the last year of his deal anyway. But if a team is, you could get like a 2nd rounder. I mean,
Yeah, just do exactly what the Cavs did last year: is trade him for nothing.
yeah. I don't know. It's better than having to eat that contract.
Yeah, I would say that, and that's the other thing is like Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond is going to, if he secures a buyout, he's going to take like $3 million, go play for the Nets, win a ring, and then hit free agency and get paid.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the future. If he secures a buyout, take a huge pay cut to play for the Nets, then sign somewhere for like 22, somewhere in the 20 to 25 million a year range.
Yeah. That's what'll happen.
I would
mean,
guess.
I wouldn't be
big
surprised.
penguin, baby. But Kevin Love, like, if you just want to buy Kevin Love out because you don't want him to have to suffer in Cleveland anymore, that's one thing. But if you're buying him out for any other reason than to like reduce the cap hit over the next 2 years, I don't understand. Because you can definitely get something from him in a trade package, and you don't have to stretch that contract so that when you need to pay guys like Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, and maybe if he stays healthy and turns out to be pretty good, like he's shown flashes of, Isaac Okoro, we need to pay those guys. You don't have a needless Kevin Love contract that would have been up 2 years ago
Right.
on the books still.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's strange, but it's the
Yeah.
Cavs. I mean, what can you expect?
yeah.
Um,
That's the thing, though. Like, there's no reason for the Cavs to do this other than just doing it as a favor to
Yeah.
Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. Like, it's just very weird.
It is very strange. But on to the most important topic in the trade corner, Bradley Beal, who has not formally requested a trade yet, but his wife did for him.
Yeah, Bradley Beal.
the Wizards
Okay, let's
suck.
talk about Bradley Beal.
He,
The
I
Wizards
think,
are fucking
I saw this
horrible.
post. It was a while ago. It was probably on like Hoops Nation or something, and it was like Bradley Beal's last 10 games have all been losses, and he dropped like 34, 42, 60,
it was like
40. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, the Wizards are a sorry excuse for a basketball franchise, and they are ruining this man. And I'm so sorry, Bradley, that this has to happen to you.
Here's the thing with Bradley Beal is such a loyal dude, and I think he is too nice to request a trade. So, Bradley Beal, here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to request it for you right now on the podcast.
Yes.
Washington Wizards, if you're listening to this, we formally request a trade for Bradley Beal because
he's too nice to
you
tell
guys
your sorry
suck.
asses how
he is
bad you
too
are.
nice to tell you guys you're terrible and that you don't deserve him. So we're going to do it for him. Trade Bradley Beal. Trade Russell Westbrook. Just trade every player that's actually still worth a shit on that roster and tank.
Yeah.
And then trade the first overall pick, which you will inevitably get because I don't want Cade Cunningham to waste his career on your sorry fucking franchise.
Damn.
God. Stupid Wizards. Okay, so let's talk about some of the trade packages for Bradley Beal because there are a couple teams being thrown around. I've seen mostly the Bucks and the Clippers being thrown around. I've also seen like Brooklyn. Have you seen Brooklyn at all? I saw Brooklyn
I've seen
once.
Brooklyn for Zach LaVine, but here's what I will say.
Oh, that's the one.
Why would Brooklyn want either of them? Because they're both very good scorers that don't play defense, and they have enough of that on their team.
Yeah, you would have to like, and you would also like kind of have to probably trade Kyrie Irving.
For Bradley Beal for sure.
They are absolutely both. Kyrie Irving is absolutely 100% better than both of them and more important to your team. And also just more important to keeping Kevin Durant and James Harden healthy for when they need to re-sign.
Yeah.
So
if you trade Kyrie Irving, even if it is for Bradley Beal and like multiple first rounders, you're probably not getting your value back.
Absolutely not. No way. So really it comes down to... Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
No, you can go ahead. I'll say mine after.
I was just going to say it really just comes down to like the Clippers and the Bucks.
All right, well, that's what I was going to bring up is the Bucks don't make much sense either because you'd have to trade Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton. And you just gave up like 6 first-round picks for Drew Holiday. You want to give up even more to get Bradley Beal? Like, it's not worth it. And Chris Middleton's Giannis's guy. You don't make him unhappy.
Yeah. Here's what I will say about the Bucks. The Bucks, as I look into it, they have some of the assets to make it happen more than I thought. Because they would have to give up Drew.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to give up like 2 future first-round picks. I'm talking like 8 years down the line. But they could theoretically do that if they really wanted to. They'd have to give up Dante DiVincenzo. They'd probably have to give up Brook Lopez. They'd be giving up the house for Bradley Beal, and I don't think that he is enough of a. He's not enough of an offensive upgrade over Drew to make it worth it, and he's definitely not a defensive upgrade. That's for sure. So I agree with you. Like Bucks, why would you do this? Like you just traded for Drew Holiday.
Because if you trade away Drew Holiday, like Bradley Beal's a pretty good like facilitator, but Drew Holiday is a much better facilitator.
Yeah, he's a better defender.
Yeah.
I would say he's a better passer. He's not going to take shots away from Giannis or Middleton, which Bradley Beal would.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you want that either. Like, you know, Drew Holiday is averaging he's averaging 13 field goal attempts a game. I would say Bradley Beal, would you say over or under 20?
On what? Field goal attempts?
Field goal attempts.
I would say on this season he's probably over.
He's averaging 17.
Damn. So very close.
Sorry, no. He's averaging 26.
Attempts? God damn.
Yeah, 26 field goal attempts on the year this year. Sorry, I was reading his total. So he's averaging 26 field goal attempts on the year this year. He would have to drastically reduce that, and I don't think
he was a second option to John Wall. Like
he was, but even like, okay, when was the last time they played together? 2017, 2018? He still averaged 18 field goal attempts a game. That's also not going to cut it.
I feel like Bradley Beal is enough of like a respectful guy that he would listen to the coach and like take less shots though.
I think he is too, but I don't think it matters if you're like a nice guy, because having a guy like Bradley Beal be your third option is kind of a waste when you have a guy like Drew Holiday who can do basically the same thing and requires less shots to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Not do the same thing, because Drew can't score at will like Bradley Beal can. But I mean, do the same thing as in be your third bucket getter, which Bradley Beal would probably be. Like, Giannis is obviously first, and Middleton is like crazy efficient. I think he's on pace for another 50, 40, 90 season. I'm not looking, I'm just guessing. But he's still crazy efficient. And, you know, part of Bradley Beal's efficiency, not really an issue, but part of his efficiency is just the fact that he's had to take so many shots for so many years. Yeah, he's shooting 50, 40, 92. Jesus Christ, Chris Middleton is. So, yeah, he's one of the most efficient three-level scorers in all of basketball, and I don't think that Bradley Beal is significantly better than him.
If you trade Drew Holiday for Bradley Beal, what you're gaining on offense is immediately lost because Bradley Beal is not a very good defender.
Exactly, and you know, maybe it's just Bradley Beal like has had to be the number one option. And, like, when you're the number one option on a team that sucks so bad, you can't really play defense. Like, you've seen it with James Harden. Like, as soon as James Harden got a teammate, like when they got Chris Paul, his defense got better.
But even then, like, Bradley Beal, even when he was a second option, he was still, like, all right at best.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Another team that I thought would be interesting was the Celtics, because they have probably the most assets in the league right now. The only problem is I wouldn't want to see Jaylen Brown rot on the Wizards. So I wouldn't want to see that. But it would make sense for the Celtics. Maybe, like, obviously, Jason Tatum would still have to be the number one option. But, like,
I would say, honestly, it wouldn't be enough. You'd have to give up picks and probably a couple young assets, like really young assets. But I think you could keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum if you gave up Kemba.
But Kemba's value, he's played like 3 games and he hasn't been very good in any of them. Like, his value is
well, I know, but like, I don't think Bradley Beal is going to be traded within the next week. I'm not sure if he's going to be traded within the month. And I think
we don't really know much about the situation because the Wizards said if they trade him, they're going to trade him where he wants to go, and he hasn't requested a trade yet. So for all we know, he could just not leave. But
that's true. God, please leave, Brad.
Please leave. We are asking you. As people that don't care about the Wizards at all, we are asking you to please leave because we feel sorry for you.
All right, you vamp for a second. I will be like right back.
All right, I will do that. But you know, Bradley Beal is a very interesting case because he's one of those guys. It's a similar thing to like a guy like Anthony Davis. Obviously, Bradley Beal's not as good as Anthony Davis, but in that same sense where he's so good that you're not going to trade him without getting a lot of assets back. But there's not many teams that are contending right now that have a lot of assets to give up. Like, the Lakers were a special exception because LeBron just signed there, which obviously makes them instant contenders, but they had all these young pieces that they were able to give away. There's not many teams right now that are able to do that. So it's a pretty
that's the thing.
case.
You do bring up a good point with that because all of the contending teams have already given up all of their assets to get guys.
Exactly.
The Nets just gave up all their assets to get James Harden. The Clippers gave up all their assets to get Paul George. The Bucks just gave up all their assets to get Drew Holiday. The Lakers just gave up all their assets to get fucking Anthony Davis. The Sixers, that's another team I've seen thrown around because the Sixers could do that.
Much sense, honestly, because Doc Rivers has gotten Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid to work together because they have all those shooters. And I'm assuming you'd have to give up Ben Simmons in a trade for Bradley Beal, which would completely throw that entire team dynamic away because you'd have to restart the entire offense.
That and the defense, because that defense immediately gets significantly worse, at least on the perimeter. Interior probably stays similar because you're not giving up Embiid.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sixers are a weird one. But, so that leaves the Clippers. That's the only team we haven't really talked about.
They also gave up all of their picks. I don't know who they could trade. Like,
well, they're a team that they could give up. They could also say, like, we still have, like, 3 first-round picks that we're that in like 10 years that we're willing to trade. So, but then they would, like, they don't have a first round pick until 2026. So they could
Right.
be like, yeah, we'll give up 2027, 2029, and 2031. God, 2031. That's not a real year. So yeah,
problem is-
we could give up 3 really far future first round picks.
You'd have to throw in Paul George. But at that point, you're overpaying for Bradley Beal, who is a worse defender. And
Yeah, you're trying to get Bradley Beal to pair with Paul George and Kawhi. You're not trying to give up one of those guys, and
Yeah.
you're obviously not going to.
and
give
they
up Kawhi.
lost Montrez in free agency, so he's not a trade piece anymore. And no one else on that team
Yeah.
really has any value. Like Serge Ibaka, but you don't want to give him up because he's your only big man. That's not Zubac.
It would have to be like Kennard, Zubats. You can stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
The problem with that is the Clippers aren't going to do a few like okay backups and 3 picks 10 years from now. Or the Wizards aren't going to
Yeah.
accept that. Like that's not a 10 years from now, who knows? Like the league's going to look completely different.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Clippers might let's say theoretically, the Clippers, I mean, we know that the Clippers don't have any picks till 2026. Let's say Kawhi doesn't picks up his option, but he re-signs with the Clippers for 4 years. That would keep him there through 2025. Then I don't know, maybe leaves, maybe he just retires, I don't know.
Another
But
thing,
they
too,
still
is,
have a year where they suck in 2026 when Kawhi is gone.
but they already
so
gave
now,
up that pick, didn't they?
They already don't have that pick, and then they're going to have, like, if they give up picks for Beal, they're going to have another, like, 4 years where they're hot shit, and they also don't have a lottery pick, which is the worst possible
That's what I
thing.
was going to say. If I'm the Clippers, I wouldn't want to trade those away because this Clippers team, not only did they play terribly in the playoffs, they got bounced in the second round. They have to completely step it up to even come close to winning a championship. And that's still a risk. I wouldn't give up picks from 10 years from now because you have nothing to fall back on if this fails, which it already hasn't looked super amazing. So, like, you don't want to be like the Nets got really lucky with the D'Angelo Russell situation, but that doesn't just happen.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
So that's why it's like, if I was the Clippers, I wouldn't want to give up those picks anyway. And that's part of why it's so difficult to trade for Bradley Beal, is because teams don't have the assets to give up, and obviously Bradley Beal's very good and worth those assets.
Nobody has any fucking picks anymore.
Yeah.
Or at least nobody that Bradley Beal would want to go to has any picks
Right.
anymore.
Exactly.
All right. Now it's time for the
For
Double
the
A NBA
awards.
Podcast Quarter Season Awards. And we got some bangers. So first of all, let's start off with Sixth Man of the Year.
Let's do it. You want to go first?
Yeah. My Sixth Man of the Year is a rookie out of Kentucky. It's Emmanuel Quickley. This is the Quarter Season Awards, so we're really not far enough to know who's the best sixth man and the most improved player. So I'm just gonna go with a fun one for this. Emmanuel Quickley. He's been super fucking fun these last couple games. He's averaging like 20 points a game over the last like week or so. He's been crazy. He's super fun to watch. He's got a nice floater, good dribble moves. He's a stud young point guard. He's the guy that they thought that Dennis Smith Jr. was going to be when they traded for him. So, yeah. So he's really nice. He is a big part of the reason why the Knicks are the 8th seed. He's anchoring their bench right now, which is hard to do as a rookie. And he's also, doesn't hurt that he's averaging 11, 2, and 2, which is decent bench output for a rookie.
Yeah.
Probably won't finish the season as Sixth Man of the Year because I would guess he's going to start pretty soon. But for quarter season, I'm going to give it to him.
Not bad. My Sixth Man of the Year is Mr. Jordan Clarkson.
Woo!
The Jazz are the 1 seed. Everyone's playing well. Jordan Clarkson has not started a single game this season, but he is averaging 18, 5, and 2 a game. He's shooting 47 from the field, 38.5 from 3, and 97 from the free throw line. which is insane.
That's ridiculous.
So he's been playing he's playing like a starter, but he's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And that's insane. And he is a huge reason that Jazz team is as good as it is. And I had to show some respect.
Yeah. All right, my most improved player. You want to do that now?
Sure.
All right, my most improved player is Colin Sexton. One half of Sexland. He's been incredible. He might be an all-star this year. I don't know. But he has drastically improved his scoring output. He's gone from, hold on, let me pull up his basketball reference. He's gone from 21 to about 25 points per game. He's more efficient this year. He is a better passer. He's pretty much the same defender, but he's improved drastically on offensively. He's also leading what I would describe as a pretty bad Cavs team. They're the 7th seed right now. I don't think that's sustainable, but good to see Colin Sexton. Really good year 2 to year 3 improvement. He was people were throwing around bust with him last year, which like his numbers were still good. He just wasn't a good defender. Yeah, he was a terrible defender.
I think you're talking about Darius Garland.
Well, yeah, Garland too, but people were like Sexton's never going to be like an all-star or anything. Maybe not bust, but Sexton is people were saying that he was never going to be able to fix his defense or anything, which he has. He's been a better defender this year.
Gotcha. Anyway, my most improved player is Mikal Bridges from the Phoenix Suns. He is actually playing pretty well this season. I'm not sure if he's starting or not, but he's averaging 15, 5.5, and 2. Last season he averaged 9, 4, and 2. So not much has changed besides his scoring output. But on top of that, his field goal efficiency has stayed about the same with his free throw efficiency. But the one thing I wanted to highlight was that he went from being a 36% three-point shooter to a 43% three-point shooter this season. And he's taking considerably more attempts. So that was just something to outline. He's been pretty impressive, and he's known for his defense, and that has been pretty consistently good this season. So, yeah, he's been a pretty big part of the Suns' somewhat success. I don't want to say success because they're like the 7th seed, but like he's been pretty good for them.
Yeah. You want to go with Coach of the Year or Depoy?
Let's go Coach of the Year.
All right. My Coach of the Year is Quinn Snyder. The Jazz are off to a crazy good start. They're 15-4 right now. And he's a big part of the reason why. He's always been a good coach, but he's never been a great coach. And I think he's kind of, if the Jazz can at least keep part of this up, I think he is going to be I think he's kind of put himself in the sphere of top 10 coaches, top 7 coaches, maybe even top 5 coaches. And I think he'll win Coach of the Year. The Jazz are playing, I would say, above what they probably should be. Because they're just getting crazy production from their bench and all their role players. And obviously Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert are both great. But yeah, I got Quinn Snyder because he's got the Jazz playing really, really well. And they're the 1 seed in the West right now.
Quinn Snyder is actually my runner-up. My Coach of the Year is Doc Rivers. And the reason I have him above Quinn Snyder is just because for like pretty much the entire season, the Sixers have been the 1 seed, but the Jazz have sort of like worked their way up in the standings after like a slow first few games.
Yeah.
So like just so far, like the Sixers have been so consistently on top of it that I sort of had to sort of give him the edge. But what I will say is that Doc Rivers is one of those coaches where, you know, he's doing good now, but we'll see how he does in the playoffs because he never wins.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's do Depoy.
Sure.
All right, my Depoy is Miles Turner. There's some competition, I guess, but Miles Turner's averaging almost 5 blocks a game. The Pacers have a bottom 5 defensive rating or something when he doesn't play, and a top 5 when he does. He's ridiculous. He was in the running for most improved, but his scoring output hasn't improved enough. And his rebounding is basically the same, that I couldn't put him in there. But yeah, he's been ridiculous. He should be voted for Defensive Player of the Year, and he should also be on a fucking all defensive team this year. Yeah.
Yeah, my depoy is also Miles Turner. It was actually like, I know you said there's not much competition, but like Rudy Gobert is actually very close. Obviously Miles Turner is averaging 4 blocks a game, but they're both top 5 defenses, and I was looking into it. I don't know what most of the advanced stats actually mean, but on the defensive ones, it said Rudy Gobert was leading most of them. But again, 4 blocks a game, and I think the Pacers are a higher defensive rating than the Jazz, but I'm not too sure. They might have, the Jazz might have passed him over these past few games, but no, Miles Turner is insane, and I still feel like this should be his second depoy, but
yeah. All right, Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I've got Tyrese Halliburton. He's been wild this year. He's got a crazy shot. What?
I said he's been pretty good.
Yeah. He's averaging 11, 5, and 3. Pretty damn good rookie numbers. He's super efficient. He's shooting 42% from 3, which is really nice as well. He's averaging a steal as well and almost 1 block. And he's got a turnover and a half, so he's been pretty good. He is the sole reason why I think the Kings are going to look to trade Buddy Hield by the deadline, because I think that they know that he is better than him. And he is a point guard, but I think he's got the skill set to be able to play shooting guard if they needed him to start at that position. He's fucking awesome. I think he is definitely taken the throne from Buddy Hield. He's not better than Buddy, but I think he is gonna make that decision a lot easier, because Buddy has been kind of a shithead over the last year or so. And I think they'll just be like, okay, well, I mean, you don't have the leverage to do that anymore, because we have a guy who's younger and will probably be better than you in a couple years.
I love Tyrese Halliburton. I've been a fan since he wore that really awesome suit in the draft.
Yeah, that was a swag suit.
And then he did an interview with King of the Fourth Quarter, and he's been on JJ Redick's podcast, so I'm a big fan of his now. But no, my Rookie of the Year is James Wiseman. He was averaging 12 and 6 for the Warriors. Yeah. So this was tough for me, because none of the rookies have really been like super standout. You know what I mean? They're all just like kind of solid. So it was kind of difficult. Tyrese Halliburton was in the mix for me. LaMelo Ball was in the mix. Patrick Williams was in the mix. But I just gave it to James Wiseman because the Warriors are contending for a playoff spot right now. And if they were in the East, they'd be the 7th seed. So he's playing a pretty important role. I think he's coming off the bench now, but he's been pretty good for them off the bench. I feel like he's learning a lot from Draymond, which can be both good and bad, I guess. But like, he's been pretty solid. So
yeah, it was a little, that one was tough for me. That's one where you can kind of flip a coin. I just went with Halliburton because of the locker room situation. I think him being this good is going to make it easier to trade Buddy Hield and get off that contract and kind of get him out of there, because he's a little toxic. But yeah, James Wiseman he was right there. He's my first runner-up, and he very well could take it over. Yeah. MVP, you want to say it on 3? Because I think we're going to have the same one.
Sure.
All right, 3, 2, 1, Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Yep.
He's averaging 28 and 11. His splits are what's really crazy. He's shooting 54, 40, 84. He's very close to 50, 40, 90 as a center, which just doesn't happen ever.
Yeah.
And he's insane defensively, and he's been carrying the offense on that team. It's insane. It's wild.
Yeah, he's been incredible this year. He's also an excellent defender. He could very well win Defensive Player of the Year this year. He's been great. Yeah, he's running that offense in a way that like really only one other center can, and that's Jokic, who was my runner-up for MVP. And yeah, he's just been incredible. The Sixers are super fun to watch. They're all gelling around him. They're a great team this year because of him.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I'm looking at my list right now. I have 3 centers on my awards. And I was very close to having Montrezl Harrell as my 6th man, and then I remember Jordan Clarkson. So I could have had a potential 4 centers awards list.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, which is
Centers are taking over, baby.
They are, dude. Well, I mean, think about it. A few years ago, it was all the talk was about how the center position was dying and not needed, but it's essentially been revamped.
Yeah, it has definitely been a revitalized position, mostly because people realize that it is really hard to block a center that can shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, is that it?
Almost. So there was like 2 other things that I had on like my list to talk about. One of which was Jimmy Butler. Yeah, he is battling COVID. I think he's officially cleared, but he's not conditioned because he lost like 12 pounds
on the court.
Yeah, he lost like 12 pounds.
Yeah.
And the Heat are the 13 seed. They're 6-12 right now. But Tyler Harrow's been out, Goran's been out, Jimmy's been out. So like this team, they've had their problems to say the least. But hopefully they can bounce back.
Yep.
And the last thing was that Karis LeVert had successful surgery to remove his cancer tumor in his kidney.
Woo!
Which is a very, very large W.
Yes.
For both the Pacers and for him, because now he's healthy and doesn't have cancer.
Yes, good for him. I don't know if he's going to come back. I would assume that he's not going to come back until proven otherwise. I
think they said
take
he
as
was
much time as you need to recover.
Oh yeah, for sure. Take your time, but I think they said he was coming back at some point this season.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw that he was out indefinitely, but I don't like that. That's such a gray area. Like that
Which
could
is
mean
probably
all year,
why
that
they
could
said
mean
it like
6
that,
days.
because they don't know how long it's going to take, obviously. But
yeah.
And in other swag news, Ron Rivera is also cancer-free now.
Yes.
Which is another big W.
Yeah, that is.
But yeah, that's football. That's different. But yeah, I think that's all we got for this episode. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Check out the description. We have socials, our individual YouTube channels, Aiden's football article, and podcast email, I think. That's about it, though. And thanks for watching.
Bye.